incompatible. Rhetoric became a field for scholars of communication, literature and language in the humanities and social sciences, while dialectic became the province of logicians and scientists, but almost disappeared from sight after the formalization of logic in the late 19th and early 20th century, when the emphasis was on derivations and not on dialogical structures. Okay, although the dialectical approach to argumentation has been taken up again in the second half of the 20th century by Hamblin and his followers, there was for a long time, and to a large extent there still is, a yawning conceptual and communicative gap between argumentation theorists opting for a dialectical perspective and argumentation theorists with a rhetorical perspective. The inclusion of rhetorical insight in the pragma-dialectical theory that my late co-author Peter Hartlosser and I had brought about is an effort to bridge the gap between dialectic and rhetoric. In fact, I brought the last book that I published based on our work, but not written by Peter, but by me. And this copy is for Alexandra later, but I'll pass it around. So we started from the observation that in argumentative discourse, whether it takes place in writing or orally, it is not the sole aim of the arguers to conduct a discussion in a way that is considered reasonable, but also, and from a certain perspective even in the first place, to achieve the outcome that is, from their point of view, the best result. The arguers' rhetorical attempts to make things go their ways are, as it were, incorporated in their dialectical efforts to resolve the difference of opinion in accordance with proper standards for a critical discussion. This means in practice that at every stage of the resolution process, the parties may be presumed to be at the same time out for an optimal rhetorical result at that point in the discussion and to hold to the dialectical objective of the discussion stage concerned. In their efforts to reconcile the simultaneous pursuit of these two aims, which may at times be at odds, the arguers make use of what we have termed strategic maneuvering. This strategic maneuvering is directed at diminishing the potential tension between jointly pursuing the dialectical aim of reasonableness and the rhetorical aim of effectiveness. Strategic maneuvering manifests itself in the moves that are made in argumentative discourse in three aspects, which can be distinguished only analytically, because in practice they go always together: topical choice, audience adaptation, and presentational design. Topical choice refers to the specific selection that is made in each of the moves from the so-called topical potential, the set of dialectical options available at the discussion stage concerned. Audience adaptation involves framing one's moves in a perspective that agrees with the audience. And presentational design concerns the selection that the speaker or writer makes from the existing repertoire of presentational devices. In their strategic maneuvering aimed at steering the argumentative discourse their way without violating any critical standards in the process, both parties may be considered to be out to make the most convenient topical selection, to appeal in the strongest way to their audience and to adopt the most effective presentation. A clearer understanding of strategic maneuvering in argumentative discourse can be gained by examining how the rhetorical opportunities available in a dialectical situation are exploited in argumentative practice. Each of the four stages in the process of resolving a difference of opinion is characterized by having a specific dialectical objective. Because, as a matter of course, the parties want to realize these objectives to the best advantage of the position they have adopted, every dialectical objective has its rhetorical analog. In each discussion stage, the rhetorical goals of the participants will be dependent on and therefore run parallel with their dialectical goals, because in each stage they are out to achieve the dialectical results that serve their rhetorical purposes best. As a consequence, the specifications of the rhetorical aims that may be attributed to the participants in the discourse must take place according to a dialectical stage. This is the methodological reason why the study of strategic maneuvering we propose boils down to a systematic integration of rhetorical insight in the dialectical, in our case, pragmadialectical framework of analysis. What kind of advantages can be gained by strategic maneuvering depends on the particular stage one is in. In the confrontation stage, for instance, the dialectical objective is to achieve clarity concerning the issues that are at stake and the positions the parties assume. Each party's strategic maneuvering will therefore be aimed at directing the confrontation rhetorically towards a definition of the difference that highlights precisely the issues this party wants to discuss. In the argumentation stage, to give another example, where the standpoints at issue are challenged and defended, the dialectical objective is to test, starting from the point of departure established in the opening stage, the tenability of the standpoints that shaped the difference of opinion in the confrontation stage. Depending on the positions they have taken, the parties will maneuver strategically to engineer rhetorically the most convincing case, or the most effective case, as the case may be. Although in our view, in strategic maneuvering, the pursuit of dialectical goals can go well together with the realization of rhetorical aims, this does of course not automatically mean that in the end the two objectives will always be in perfect balance. If a party allows his commitment to a critical exchange of argumentative moves to be overruled by the aim of persuading the opponent, we say that the strategic maneuvering has got derailed. Such derailments occur when a rule for critical discussion has been violated. In that case, trying to realize the rhetorical aim has gained the upper hand at the expense of achieving the dialectical aim. Because derailments of strategic maneuvering always involve violating a rule for critical discussion, they are on a par with the wrong moves in argumentative discourse designated as fallacies. Viewed from the extended pragmadialectical perspective, fallacies are derailments of strategic maneuvering that involve violations of critical discussion rules. The difference between legitimate manifestations of strategic maneuvering and manifestations that are fallacious is that in the latter case certain soundness conditions applying to that way of strategic maneuvering have not been met. Each mode of strategic maneuvering has, as it were, its own continuum of sound and fallacious acting, and the boundaries between the two are not always immediately crystal clear. More often than not, fallacy judgments are in the end contextual judgments that depend on the specific circumstances of situated argumentative acting. The criteria for determining whether or not a certain norm for critical discussion has been violated may depend on the institutional conventions of the argumentative activity type.